But I want to turn our attention to another important game on the schedule, a top 25 matchup on the schedule, and one in which I know you are personally invested.
Yes.
Number 12, Brigham Young at number 25, Oregon. How do you feel about Oregon going into this game, Geoff?
I don't know. We did what we had to against Eastern Washington. We scored the first 9 possessions. So here's the problem. Is that I'm going to steal a line from my buddy Dan Rubenstein, who covers football for the Solid Verbal, former Oregon Duck as well, good buddy of mine. He called the Oregon offense a pickleball offense, right? Where basically it's just kind of in this short little area, it works just fine. But when you expand it out, you see the issues. And that's my take so far on this team is like defensively, they were better against Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington can score, guys. They scored the first team defense on 7 points over 3 quarters. So I'll take that after obviously the Georgia game. We tackle much better. It seemed like Dan Lanning was more personally involved in the defense than he was in game 1. So I think they're making some changes there as far as defensively, but offensively, they just don't trust Bo Nix. It's very evident. They set him up for success sometimes, but on third downs, man, like they're running these mesh screens and like things. I'm like, it's Eastern Washington. Can you work on something else? Like you're going to run that against Georgia, which they did. You're running against BYU. Like, let's get the ball down the field. And the offense just seemed disjointed at times in the past. Again, we scored on the first 9 possessions. We scored points. So to me, like you play BYU team that's very physical, that wants to get everything in the front 7. I think the passing game, we have better athletes on the edges to make plays in the passing game to move the ball if we can get that done with Bo Nix. And I just don't see right now the faith that I have in Bo Nix to make that happen. Maybe the coaches do, and maybe they're quote saving things, which doesn't really happen in my opinion as much as we think. And so to me, it comes down to that. BYU offensively, obviously, they are kind of the same boat as Oregon a little bit here, especially if they don't have their top 2 wide receivers. I don't know the status of those guys heading into this game. We know they scored 26 points in overtime against Baylor. If they don't have those guys, they're kind of in the same boat as Oregon, right? Where they're kind of in this smaller, trying to move the ball in chunks of 5 to 7 yards. And so I think Oregon can defensively play that much better, obviously, than a team that is trying to do what Georgia did to them. So we have better players. I don't know, man. I gotta see more from Bo Nix to feel comfortable in Oregon's ability to win this game. I think everywhere else we're going to be fine, but can Bo Nix make those special throws? Because BYU can score. They had a little trouble last week without their 2 top receivers, but it's a veteran team, man. They're going to want this game. A lot of kids, in the region that grew up Oregon fans that maybe wanted to go to Oregon that weren't able to do so. It's in Autzen Stadium. BYU won all 5 of their games against Pac-12 teams last season, so they're going to be very confident heading into this game.
I'm really interested to see what this game means once it gets done, because if Oregon is able to knock off an undefeated BYU, I think that's going to speak well of not just Oregon, but of the Pac-12. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that BYU went 5-0 against Pac-12 opponents last year. But if they get this victory, if the Cougs are able to get this win on the road, what do you think stops them from being a team that contends for the college football playoff?
The bias that we have against group of 5 teams. I mean, like that, another independent, and they'll be, out of that situation fairly soon when they go to the Big 12. I mean, you know how I feel about this situation. Like I would just take the 4 best SEC teams. It's fine. Like it's fine with me as a Pac-12 guy, but their schedule, they get Wyoming, Utah State. They're at Notre Dame. They host Notre Dame. That game is much different now, right? Arkansas feels like a spot where Arkansas is going to be favored in that game. But yeah, they don't have a schedule where there's a lot of losses, at least penciling right now after Oregon. Utah State has not been as good as last year. Obviously, they just got waxed by Weber State. Obviously, the Irish. If the Irish find an offense that makes that game more interesting. Arkansas, I think, is really good. So yeah, there's a couple places they might trip up, but if they beat Oregon, yeah, they're going to be looked at as a fringe playoff team.
I think that they are absolutely a playoff team looking at the schedule that they're playing. You mentioned Arkansas, Oregon, Baylor. That's stout right on its face. And the Mountain West is nothing to sneeze at. It's where they play a lot of their competition alongside those Pac-12 teams staying within their region. I also think that they get to say, hey, we were as good as Cincinnati was in 2020 for the last 2 years. And if they're looking for a 4th team to get in there, far be it from me to say that Kalani Sitake and the BYU Cougars do not deserve an invitation to the college football playoff. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.